Hey homies, what's good? It's the Tominator, and this is probably going to be the last video I make on the 2020 Mr. Olympia, at least for a week or so because of the holidays. I've covered all the essentials by now, going through the top callouts of the three main men's categories, so in this one I just wanted to go over some of the highs and lows of the Olympia weekend, and talk about some of the best surprises, as well as the biggest disappointments. And for anybody still clamoring for men's physique or women's figure or bikini, well, sorry guys, you're out of luck because I honestly don't watch them and would have zero insight to offer. No disrespect to those competitors because I know they put in the hard work too, but it's just something that I've never had much interest in personally. But as far as the rest of this year's Olympia is concerned, wow, it was honestly pretty good, I gotta admit. It was definitely an improvement over last year's show. If only because the lineup was deeper, and we finally got to see Big Rami knock it out of the park. We'd all been waiting to see this for the past 6 or 7 years, and this time he actually brought it. Everybody knew that if Rami ever showed up at like 95 to 100%, it was game over, because nobody alive today can hang with his level of mass and width. So congrats to Big Rami. It's good to see him start cashing in on all that genetic potential. He's a very humble, respectful champion as well, so that's always nice to see. It was also great to see Hadi Choopan make it to the stage. After so much uncertainty regarding international travel this year, I wasn't sure he'd even be able to make it into the country, let alone compete. But we gotta give credit to Hani Rambod and the rest of his team for pulling off a bit of last-minute magic and getting it done. In terms of the physique, I'd say Hadi was a little worse than last year, at least at the prejudging, but a little better at the finals. So all in all, another stellar performance from the Persian Wolf, who's really cemented himself as one of the most consistent and dangerous pros in the open class today. Another outstanding performance that I think isn't getting enough attention was Akeem Williams, who came in 6th. Akeem nailed it and was rewarded with his highest placing to date, a top 6 finish at the Mr. Olympia. That's no small feat in such a stacked lineup. Maybe for the next video, I'll go back and check out that second call-out so we can appreciate some of the improvements he's made. William Bonac and Dexter Jackson were also in there, along with Hunter Labrada and Ian Valliere, so it would be an interesting comparison for sure. Hunter and Ian both brought great packages themselves. I was impressed with them. Over in Classic Physique, Chris Bumstead looked incredible and absolutely dominated. Terrence Ruffin also emerged as a legitimate contender, and it should be interesting to watch him in years to come. 212 featured an amazingly close head-to-head battle between Sean Clarita and Kamal Algarni. Based on the comments from my last video, opinions are split almost evenly down the middle in terms of who people think should have won, and the single-point decision on the judges' scorecard aptly reflects that. The truth is that it could have gone either way. They were both deserving champions. I guess one more positive thing to say before we dive into some of the negatives is that I actually liked the stage production this year. It was still a bit too busy with the spinning logos and whatnot, but the white column background looked pretty classy and recalled some of the old school days from the late 90s and early 2000s when they tried to be more artistic with the backdrops. I also thought the lighting was improved over 2019. It was especially good for the 212 prejudging. I wish they could have kept it more consistent with that for the other events as well, but it was still pretty decent overall. Okay, but as for the disappointments, let's get one of the more general ones out of the way first. The pay-per-view. I'm not a fan. Especially after dealing with COVID for the past 9 months, with millions of people out of work or otherwise struggling to make ends meet, it felt like kind of a low blow to suddenly start charging $65 USD for a show that was formerly free. I get that they probably had to recoup some sunk costs after switching venues last minute and moving the whole contest from Las Vegas to Orlando, but still, it sucks for us fans, especially those who legitimately can't afford it. I'd like to see them get with the times already and start an official YouTube channel. They could easily monetize their broadcast from there. Sure, YouTube takes 45% of the ad revenue, but their viewership would probably be increased 100 times over. They could even break up each of the events into separate videos to multiply the views and income. This would surely help them grow the sport of bodybuilding going forward, better than a pay-per-view format. Another disappointment was all the names who had to drop out. No Cedric McMillan, no Flex Lewis, no Nathan DeAsha or Rafael Brandau, and no Rolly Winkler. That's a lot of top-end talent that was missing. Pretty much all of those guys would have been challenging for a top 10 spot, at the very least. And as happy as I was to see Big Rami win, and it's always exciting when a new champion is crowned, it was equally sad and bittersweet to see two legends like Dexter Jackson and Heath go out like that. Now, nothing's been confirmed with Phil as of yet. I don't believe he's officially announced his retirement or anything, but I'd be surprised if we ever see him on stage again. Based on predictions leading up to the show, I think most of us had him as the frontrunner and were expecting him to claim his 8th title here. But this just wasn't vintage Heath. He wasn't as sharp as we'd seen him in the past, and that midsection seems to be totally unsalvageable. Short of getting ab implants, I don't see what he could possibly do to repair it at this point. I mean, the guy is literally missing half his ab muscles. They were no doubt destroyed during the surgeries, and that's something no amount of training will ever fix. So anyway, it just made me feel old and nostalgic watching him try to recreate his 2011 posing routine. It really makes me long for those glory days, man. As good as the field is today, it was better back then. And as for Dexter, what else can you say that hasn't been said already? He's one of the GOATs, plain and simple. Louis Marco used to call him a vampire because he was seemingly immortal, but here at the Olympia, he finally showed his age. It looked as though he'd positively shriveled away since that unbelievable showing at the Arnold Classic back in March. This Dexter was small and depleted and just looked very tired and worn out. No offense, but it was easily his worst version in years, possibly ever. He was never in the running for a top 6 spot, and even his 9th place finish was generous. I would have probably swapped him with Justin Rodriguez in 10th. So on the one hand, I guess that's appropriate for his last show. It wouldn't make sense to retire if he'd just placed top 4 or something and looked amazing. Like, why stop then if you're still going strong? But on the other hand, it is sometimes nice to see people go out on top. So, I don't know, man, it just sucks either way. We just witnessed the end of an era. I'm sure some of you longtime subscribers will already know this, but Dexter and Phil are 2 of my all-time favorite bodybuilders. In fact, I've got both of them in my personal top 6. In their primes, they represented that 90s type of look, the cartoonish round muscle bellies, combined with sharp separation and nice aesthetics. You don't see too many guys with their level of quality who fit that bill today. So yeah, guys, that's all I gotta say for this one. Like I said, a really good Olympia all in all. Very exciting to see Rami come into his own like that and prove that politics won't hold you back if you deliver the goods. But it's definitely bittersweet for me to see probably the end of Dex and Phil. Alright, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one. This has been the Tominator, signing off, and I'll be back.